everybody. Welcome back. Evan Manship here with Brick by Brick, the non-podcast podcast, coming to you live from our headquarters here in soggy southern Broad Ripple. It will not stop raining, but I was able to find sunshine amongst the clouds. Miss Elizabeth Butler with Syria, among many other businesses that she's currently operating. Miss Elizabeth, welcome to the studio.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here again, like soggy Broad Ripple. Hooray!
What's not pictured here in our studio is my completely sopping wet left side of my body. For the lovely 4'11" woman that drove directly through the puddle as I was exiting my vehicle in the burgundy late model Jeep Commander. I hope you have a better day than you just gave me. Thank you very much. Miss Elizabeth Butler is the executive director, owner, manager, CEO, all the fun, fancy words of a local investors group, Syria, Central Indiana Real Estate Investors Association. And she is here to just talk about her experience today, what got her started. So maybe I'll tee it up with that. Would you give the folks your elevator pitch and tell the folks what you're currently doing?
Sure, absolutely. So Elizabeth Butler, I own and operate Syria Club. I also own and operate Imagine Home Buyers with my husband. We have that weird convoluted story that depending which one of us tells it, it's told very differently. I say that we got started in real estate in 2010 as backwards as you could possibly imagine. We bought our first single family rental property in Dayton, Ohio, where my grandmother was from. We were on a trip and see grandma. Decided that property was cheap and for $50,000 we could buy our very own house. And we put 50% down, thought we were great investors, lost our butts the first couple of years, had everything go wrong you could possibly imagine, doubled down, paid a ton of money for a great real estate education, and ultimately now we own 17 doors in Indiana, as well as that's still what I call the Forever House in Dayton. We operate the Forever House. That Forever House is an infinity return for us. We bought it backwards, but refinanced 100% of everything we ever put into it, and now it cash flows like crazy. So
that's awesome.
Never selling it, contrary to what Sean believes. Then we started Imagine Home Buyers about 2018, so it took us a few years to kind of get rolling. Started flipping houses in eastern Idaho and western Idaho. I'm originally from Boise, and we started redeploying capital from the Idaho flipping market into Indiana, Ohio, where we could buy a whole lot more property and help a whole lot more people get into housing.
Yeah, that's cool. And maybe that's a neat thing to hear you say. Is we've got a handful of folks that have sat in this seat who have done something similar, had an ultra-high earning W-2 gig on a coastal market, or done something to achieve kind of what I call fee money, taken fee money and deployed it into passive money here in the Midwest. So Absolutely. You're no secret, it sounds like.
No, not at all. It's like, anything that we could do to try to take that active income and turn it into something that was more passive was kind of a goal for us. Our whole entire reason for doing real estate is creating that legacy for our daughter and the things that we want to do within our lives.
That's cool. I remember correctly from a handful of our conversations, obviously you started from Boise, kind of started your migration. Would you mind kind of telling that story about how you ended up all the way out here and kind of the things that you were doing in Boise, because I know it was more than just flipping houses.
Sure. So in Boise, it's like I worked at non-for-profit healthcare. I was in the administration side of it for 6 years. Yeah, 6 years at the end of my career. I came before that from a background in consulting, so I traveled a lot, worked with a lot of great big businesses, had a pretty good income, learned kind of the hard way that a market can both make and break you pretty quickly, because we lived in California in 2008 and watched values literally overnight drop by 50%, and there was no way that was going to recover in a quick timeline. We then migrated to Boise, Idaho, my hometown, to raise our little kid in something a little less crazed than the Ventura, California and 101 freeway haul. After we did that, really, we were both working, my husband and I, both full-time jobs. We started the full-time real estate business. We started flipping there, redeploying capital here, and realized really quickly that counting on a team across the country was something that we had to get developed faster than anybody could possibly imagine. So I'm that really early adopter, maybe crazy person of Zoom. I did everything virtual long before COVID shut everybody else down. We built our team of 3 construction teams and 2 property managers from 3,000 miles away.
That's wild. We
bought, I can't even think now, probably 30 doors, not ever having set foot in or seen a single one of them. We had the team do video walkthroughs, and we pride ourselves on building systems and templates such that anybody with a basic skill set around understanding their business could take that, walk into a property, and do what we needed done to it.
That's awesome. And that's something I think that I bark all the time about. What's your superpower, man? The ability to buy a property, hundreds of thousands of dollars being deployed from ever having set foot in the state, or being able to point to it on a map. Superpower, that's awesome.
Yes, superpower. Trust the people around you, build systems that help keep them manage your risk.
So if you don't mind, again, I'm not going to ask for the sauce, but If you could give advice to someone maybe who's a dentist in Chandler, Arizona right now, who might be watching this, trying to get his or her first foot into investing in real estate, how would you coach them through, okay, step 1, step 2 would be XYZ?
Sure. Step 1, come to Indianapolis. It's like, this has been one of the hottest markets for investors for 30 plus years. It's not secret to anybody who's been in the business ever. I think actually I read it just recently. Barbara Corcoran off of Shark Tank said, here's one of the markets that I'm continuing to invest in right now today in 2024, just because we have such a huge potential for growth and that we have a very stable rental market here. Always has been, probably always will be, just because Indy's a big enough city to support that ongoing. Number one thing, again, find a team, find people that you can work with and that you trust, and ask them, like, interview everybody, ask them questions and make sure that they're a good fit for you. That's probably number one for us. Is we build templates, we have checklists, we have all these things. The tools are only as good as the people who are going to implement them. So make sure that that person on the other side of it has the same level of commitment to your goal as you do. And that really was the secret sauce for us, was find that person who has a level of involvement and commitment to your success equivalent to what you want to see. Help other people grow.
That's super good, and something that I think maybe along the lines of what you're saying, I'm going to chime in simply for fun, because I made this mistake when I first jumped in, is I hired folks that weren't the team that I found. Yay, found me a team. And I was here locally, much less, thousands miles away. I hired guys who had all the answers, they had the portfolio to show, but they had this is going to sound bad, they had no money. So I hired a broke contractor. Everyone knows how that goes. Well, they ran out with my money. Shocker.
Right.
They want to feed their kids more than they want to do construction on my house. Get that. Same with property management, right? If you hire someone who doesn't have their own personal finances figured out, it's a tricky conversation in itself. Hey, are you broke? Are you not?
Yes.
But there's a delicate way to have that done. Shocking, contractors, property managers, brokers, they've all got all the answers. They're all salespeople. So a great way to not get sold is to ask maybe more difficult questions. And I don't think you need to ask for a profit loss or what's your budget personally, but there are ways to make sure that this person has operating capital to run a business instead of a fly-by-night hobby where they take off with your cash. So super easy to do and get burnt when you're from Boise or Chandler or Vancouver, doesn't matter. But that's one of the bigger mistakes I see out-of-state people doing, is saying, here's my team, ready, set, go, and it ends poorly each time.
Yep. And it really is about that vetting of the team and making sure that, again, delicately ask those questions, but have those really serious conversations. Like, don't be afraid to have, the worst thing anyone will ever tell me in my business is no. No is fast. Like, let's get to know as fast as we possibly can and move on from there. That's the worst you're going to tell me. Aside from that, we're having a conversation, we're having a negotiation, we're having some kind of a discussion that can lead to a yes for both of us. I want there to be more yes than no, but no gets me there quicker. Yeah, so let's really break down that, like, hey, if I don't pay you for 2 weeks, because kind of the standard stock and trade that I use is, hey, if you were to start a job at Walmart tomorrow, they're going to pay you in 2 weeks after you provided service. I'm more than happy to show up in 1 week and pay you every Friday as long as the work is done.
I really like that. Get to know as soon as possible. At least we're having a conversation. But That's a doomsday scenario. I like that a lot. Communication goes a super long way. Talk to me about the Cyria Club, your involvement with it, how it came to be. Because I know you've had experience doing similar things out west.
Yes. So I was a contributor to the Boise Investors Group. Shout out to the big guys. It was a group that started long before me. The big guys.
I get it. I get it.
You get it.
Huge brain guy up here. Big Boise
Investor Group. You got it. Like, shout out to those guys.
Yeah.
And I was part of their core
That's
board
big
of
time.
leaders. It is big time. Big time Boise. But they started years ago. I joined in as a cohort host for that because they had a transition in their leadership, and we took that on and kind of grew it into a weekly meeting that we had a solid 20 people who would show up every single Monday morning.
Wild. Okay.
At 9 a.m., like way beyond real estate normal hours. We sat down an hour together and just kind of break through barriers, help people organize through thoughts, and bring together kind of the smartest, biggest players in that game to create more opportunities for more people. Started there, then one of my pals from there, shout out to Brandy, we actually started a women's investing group in Boise that had never been thought of, never been heard of, never been talked about before, knowing that for that particular market, a whole lot more agents are female than male. And in that market, those folks are people who, it's their side hustle. Oftentimes they had another job, or they were the primary caregiver of children in their home.
In Boise specifically?
In Boise specifically.
Okay.
So we set up that one Thursday a month, we had an extended lunch that we would bring food into, and a group of really brilliant women started having coffee together. We started as a coffee chat. We started with about 12 people, and it grew to about 50.
That's a lot of coffee.
Right after COVID. Like, we literally started on a patio during COVID, having coffee in the freezing cold. And then it grew into a 50-person attended meeting that still to this day meets once a month. Was able to hand that off, and it really was about like, hey, when you build that space to create the connection for people, the connections start happening.
Of course.
And it is about building more and making more for everybody. I know you and I have talked about it before. That wild, crazy person who truly embraces that theory of living my most abundant life. Like, I don't believe in scarcity in any way. I'll make more pie and make the table bigger. Let's just keep making the table bigger.
I respect that, and I think that's a common. I think it's a common thing nowadays. People recognize the more you give, the more you get. Obviously, we're not making this content for fun.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that we're giving something fun, and hopefully, at some point in time, receive something back. And that's a weird industry too, to see that level of give, and just hope at some point you get something back. And it seems like that itch is starting to be scratched with not necessarily the seeds that you planted in Idaho, but here at Cyria, certainly.
Absolutely.
So if you wouldn't mind, I think if you want to give it a fun sales pitch for the organization.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug for Cyria. Let's talk about that real quick.
Sure. So Cyria Club is, like you mentioned, the longest standing real estate investors association club here in central Indiana. It's been around for just north of 30 years. It's had many iterations. It was started originally as the Indianapolis Landlord Association and grew from there. At this time, we have just north of 400 members. Those are all active paying members who joined our group to come and get to know each other, to come to us for that sense of community, to come to us for that sense of education. My husband and I acquired the organization last June from the previous board of directors group. There was lots of folks who've been around for a very long time who were ready to retire or burnt out on this industry. And because of our go-giver mentality, my husband and I said, hey, there's a lot of opportunity here for us to be able to step into that space and maybe give more than was ever given to the community before, because it does come back to you in spades. Like, I spent a good amount of my time talking with what I consider our members. Essentially, we're all students together. Like, I learn something new every single day. It's a personal challenge for myself, and I'm hoping that we are challenging our members as well to learn something new, especially as it pertains to real estate. This is a hard business. It is not easy. It is never going to be easy. It is something that you have to work hard at. You have to put in the time and the effort, and I want to make sure that people have a foundation around and underneath them and a community to work with to ensure that they find those successes and have a way in which they can make sure they're mitigating their risks. Because, again, hard business, it will eat you alive, and I've seen way too many people end up disappeared or in jail.
Yeah.
And it's just because it is a tough business. You've got to know what to do.
I love. Thank you for saying that too.
Yes.
That's a difficult thing to admit out loud. It is. And not to pat ourselves on the back for having been around this long, but it is a difficult business. I used to have a lot more hair.
Mine used to be a lot less gray.
A lot more friends. Yeah, the whole bit. But seriously, I mean, it's a very rewarding business, a very fiscally rewarding business, just the same way. But man, it's tough. It's a grind. And to hear someone say, it's super easy to sit here and say, oh, just build your team, just go meet the right people. And if I'm that dentist in Chandler, Arizona, sitting at a stoplight watching this right now, I'm sitting here saying, how?
Yes, how?
How in the world do I do that? And I personally think Cyria is such a unique opportunity and neat thing, why we belong for as long as we have, because it is a chance to rent that network for folks that have already built it.
Absolutely.
That's the way I interpret this, especially for someone new. To walk up to the door, and I forget what the monthly thing is. Shameless plug, monthly cost.
Shameless plug, monthly cost is $29.50 for an individual, $39.50 for a couple.
That much money.
It's stupidly cheap.
Stupidly cheap to rent the network for the low cost of, let's call it $30 a month, $360 a year to rent a network of 400 some odd members, many of which will forget more about real estate today than you will ever know. And that's a very serious thing to say out loud. Shout out to Dave Short. Again, the Cyria or something along the lines of Cyria, there's so much can be said from these the attendance of these events, watching these videos, learning and educating and training yourself in a way that you're not going to see direct results from. It's like doing push-ups once or getting on the treadmill once or twice or three, even for a week or a month. You're not going to see huge results, but over time, man, it goes a long way. And I think Elizabeth is a huge testament to that.
Thank you for that. It's like, yeah, I often liken it to, I like the physical analogy of it, but I often liken it to, if you go and look at the people who are, like, I love my all-star water container here today.
That's
I love basketball. Like, I love basketball. But it is that thing, like, you don't ever go and shoot a 90% free throw from day one. It takes a lot of practice, it takes a lot of muscle memory. It's the same thing with this business. You're building a muscle memory, but the muscle memory is in your brain.
Yeah.
Like, add more folds to your white gray matter, guys. Like,
Yep.
that's what it is. It's a challenge every day to make sure that you're gaining that information. It's not always, it is physical. Like, let's not lie. This is a physical business. But it is one of those things, like, you want to stretch and stress that muscle as much as you can, because then you gain that knowledge in this thing to help protect yourself.
If I just thought of this, and this is totally just out of left field. This is left field's left field.
Hey.
But if do you have a member off the top of your head where you can point to? Maybe it's a success story that you've seen. Maybe you just come in here. Here's my $30. I only have a couple $100. I want to learn about real estate. And now they're really
crushing it.
crushing
Like,
it. You have to name it. You have to name it by name, but just.
Yeah, it's like we have a couple. It's like, I would say that probably for us, we started developing our monthly newsletter. So that was a new thing when we kind of took on the business. We started that. I spearheaded that effort, and thank you to Jessica Carter for having taken the reins on that and made it as beautiful as it is.
Jessica's awesome.
She's awesome. But that is one of those projects that we took on specifically to say, hey, we're going to shout out to our members that we see like they're grinding and they're taking the things that they can gain from this group of people, from this level of education, from this community and all the resources that they have here, and actually just killing it. So, as an example, last month was Pat. Hi, Pat. Pat Grayson was our feature guy. I'm going to change your cover photo, I promise. His wife vetoed our choice. But he is one of those people, I'm going to call him a legacy investor. He is a fourth generation real estate investor who said, wow, that's been great for my 3 generations prior to me. I'm going to go into like this totally off the skill thing. I'm going to move to Denver, Colorado. I'm going to build custom, beautiful furniture. Here's where me and my family are going from Indiana. And still this thing that is real estate and still that legacy of, hey, here's what that thing creates for you, brought him back. And brought him back to it, and brought him back to Cyria Club to help dial in that network, dial in that community, and to help provide support for himself and his family in their transition, much like my family. We were out west, we came to Indianapolis. It was a fantastic way to have an already loaded, ready to go group of people who want to nerd out as much as I do on disgusting houses.
And we do like to do that.
We do love to do this.
That's a fun story. So that's a story for a different brick by brick. Elizabeth, if someone wanted to get a hold of you to talk about membership with Cyria,
Yes.
rubbing elbows, Idaho, basketball,
Right. Yeah,
how do they get a hold of you? Who, how, why?
Yeah, so always Cyria.club is our website. You can go on there. All communication will eventually flow its way to me. If you want to get a hold of me directly, I'm at 317-500-4486. It is the phone number posted on the website. And that comes directly to me on 3 different communication devices now. God bless us, technology.
It's like Woof from The Office. You
It's
push a button.
Push a button, it happens.
Everything. I love that. Beautiful. Thank you. And Cyria again is the first Thursday of every month. Yeah?
First Thursday of every month, and then if you are a member, we have a pretty full calendar for the month of May and June, and we look forward to seeing all of our members July 11th. So there will be no July 4th meeting. Like, everybody go enjoy your Independence Day. But on July 11th, we're going to be having our knockdown, drag out, throwdown barbecue party at the Irvington Event Center. So we hope to see everyone there.
Which sounds just awful. If you don't like beer, barbecue, real estate, you should stay home. If you like any of those 3 things, please. July 11th, that starts at 5:30.
Yes, sir. 5:30.
And we're going to do a little gift basket. Come and throw your thing for the auction here at the Mainstay Basket. Guys, thanks for tuning in, Brick by Brick. Miss Elizabeth Butler with the Cyria Club. If you need to contact her, Caleb's going to put her information in the description below and the comments. You need to find us at Mainstay, Ticket, Canoe, Boat, anything that floats to 2001 East 52nd Street. And we'll see you guys next time.